Alrighty. Okay. Ooh. Welcome, everyone. All right. Yeah, thanks for coming to DCTRL here for EthVan Thursdays. Let's see, this week we've got, I think the Nouns Running is going to be canceled because Owen's out of town. So if you're looking to run, probably have to wait till next week, unless if somebody wants to do that or lead it. But then we've got, I think on Wednesday, there's going to be both NFTs and coffee from 4 to 6. And then ZK Research, I think, is going to be doing their back, because Owen will be back in town next week. So we'll have those, and then again back here for Thursday. Tomorrow there's also an off-chain event as well over at AndCo. So it's on Eventbrite, I believe, is where the meet is for that. So just search off-chain if you're looking to come to another event. It's at another co-working space called AndCo, closer to Stanley Park. So that's that's kind of other events that are happening soon. TM. Other than that, just glad everybody's here. We're gonna dive in and talk about hardware wallets today. So hopefully some of you already are, or if you aren't, or if you're listening in online and got questions, we'll keep track. If you got questions along the way, grab a microphone. Just press the silver button at the bottom. Just press it once or hold it a little bit, and then it'll turn on. And then ask those questions. So that's all goes through the live stream. We'll keep an eye out here for questions and stuff as they come in. But all right, hardware wallets. Let's dive into this. As I like to say, this is the beginning of your crypto journey, because this is where you should be beginning with your crypto, rather than getting a bunch of assets on a software wallet first and then having to deal with it later. But all right, what is a hardware wallet? Basically, a crypto wallet that stores your private keys in the hardware device. So it's not like your device is actually holding the crypto, right? It's just like, it's basically the private keys. The main principle is to provide isolation between your private keys and like your computer or your smartphone or whatever it is that you're connecting to. Just by having that separation, it's kind of like two-factor. So a lot of you are probably familiar with like Google 2FA or like a YubiKey or something, where it still requires an outside input in order to activate something. Because if your phone or something got compromised, or if your computer did, you wouldn't have that separation. Common ones, the common hardware wallets are Ledger, Trezor, Keystone, and KeepKey. Those are some examples, and we'll get into them later. So why don't you have a hardware wallet yet? I hear a lot of people that say, well, I don't think I need one. Like, my security is safe on my computer. I have no problems with that. They trust that, Google Chrome extensions are going to be completely safe and are not going to be a problem, and don't understand those threats. People also say, like, they don't have a lot of assets yet. Like, why? I've only got like a couple $100 of, this brand new meme coin. So why do I need to have a hardware wallet? Well, I'm sure some of you have noticed here over the past couple of weeks or months, $200 investment in a meme coin can turn into 5 or 6 figures pretty quickly. So that would be very unfortunate should you lose that. And now you're wondering, you're scrambling to deal with this. Some people think it's too hard. There are certain hardware wallets that are more complicated than others. And you can that's why hopefully today here we can go through a few of them and answer any questions around that too, that can help find the right one, find what's right for you. If you don't trust yourself, well, better to learn about it, because you will trust yourself, and you'll trust yourself more than some third-party security or some third-party controller. Seed phrases are scary. Yes, they are, because that's if you those 12 words or 24 words. Generally, I like to go for the 24 words, just a higher entropy. You need to make sure that you've got that secured safely. And making sure that you've got access to that in the event that you lose a device or have to rebuild your wallet. And if you don't understand public and private keys, like a lot of that is really confusing, because you just want to see your assets and you just want to be able to interact with them, and you don't want to have to understand what's all going on behind the engine. And really, like, if you just have a basic understanding, I think it's just makes it easier. And a lot of this stuff is abstracted away so that you don't have to, you know, literally have to like learn about all this stuff in order to, you know, be able to build, you know, wallets and stuff like this. So, all right, private key is a secret code used to access or control your crypto funds. When a user creates crypto wallet, it generates a unique pair of keys, both the public key and the private key. So those are attached to each other. So basically from a private key, it will derive your public address. However, from a public address, you cannot derive your private key. So that's where it's safe to share your public address with anyone, and they will not have access to your private keys, or your private keys being able to, like, I don't even think a private key can, you know, you can rebuild a seed phrase from that either. Public keys is the user crypto address, which can be shared to others, just as we had said here. Secret code, this is definitely like should be kept confidential. If anybody has access to your private keys, or if somebody like asks you to share your private keys with you because, well, they need this to help you with whatever issue you're having with your wallet or with the DApp or something like that. If you give out your private keys, that's just like giving away, that's like giving a blank check. And generally, you know, these people are not very philanthropic and planning to give it back to you. Yeah, basically, if you give up your private key, you can expect your wallet to be completely drained and you will lose everything. So keep that safe. And again, those private keys are generally bound behind seed phrases. So those 24 words, most of this is the mnemonic codes. So seed phrase that makes up a sequence is created every time a user opens a new wallet. Seed phrases are connected to a user's entire crypto wallet, which contains all of their private keys. So each private key is linked to a single address. So the way to think about this is you've got a whole bunch of within your seed phrase that you've just generated. And how many people here have generated a seed phrase or know what I'm speaking of? Okay, most everybody here. Great. So from there, you're going to have that mnemonic phrase, which will then derive you I don't know how many different, it's an ungodly amount of private keys. So each of those private keys then paired to an address, so you can have multiple private keys and public addresses pairs between or underneath each of your seed phrases. So that way you can have, you know, different wallets for different things, whether you want to manage them differently or interact with stuff from different places. Okay, so seed phrases follow what's called a BIP 39 or 44. And so the BIP stuff, that's all from like back in the Bitcoin days. So this is all like Bitcoin improvement proposals. Early on, they were talking about like creating, you know, how do we make this more accessible for people? Because in the early days, it was like, yeah, you just had a private key, or you had, you know, like paper wallets and a whole bunch of random stuff. But this basically has a 2,048 word list, and those are all very specific words that are used in this list, because you can't just like make up a whole bunch, you know, you can't just pick your own seed phrase of like, you know, whatever words you choose. There's a very specific list that these need to be chosen from, and it's because generally the first 4 letters do not conflict with other words. So if you were to type in, you know, LIST, for example, list would be the actual would be the word for it. It wouldn't be the word listen, for example, where it has extra words on it. So these words are specifically chosen so that there's no conflict, so that if you were to try and rebuild your seed phrase, you're not going to run into issues. So BIP 44 is what they call hierarchical deterministic, HD, and that offers multiple networks. So most wallets are this way now. So like if you build your seed phrase, it's going to have the ability to give you a Bitcoin address and an Ethereum address and even a Solana address, for example, and potentially other networks that all work with this. So that way you don't have to build like a different seed phrase for each network that you're going to. It can all derive this from that, should everybody be using you know, BIP 44. Mnemonic phrases are generated for for wallet recovery. So again, it's much easier to like deal with words than it is to write down, you know, a string of characters that you have to be very precise with. And whether, you know, that can become a bit onerous to deal with. There's randomness that is used to generate the seed phrase as well. So when that can come from either the software wallet that you're dealing with, or where we're getting into is the hardware wallet itself has a random generation element to it that provides the seed phrase from random generation. So one of these other sites that I like to kind of talk about is this iancoleman.io, BIP 39. This shows you can go in there and get really detailed with it, but you could basically, actually let me see if I can pull it up here. Here we go. So in here you can see this here will show you how to do, if we show the entropy details, and what I like to do is we'll get into this with the dice stuff, but for example, we want to have a 24 word. So we can just type a bunch of these, let's imagine these are dice rolls. So I rolled a 1, 3, 4, we'll get into all this further, but you see how we can get a mnemonic phrase here. So this is giving us, we've already just built a seed phrase just from this. And so this is where it's creating this, this one wasn't using random stuff, but this was using a dice, for example, but there's other random generation things that are happening with these, with the hardware wallets that will give you these seed phrases. And that's just kind of a quick example of how these just get generated just from some sort of random entropy that goes in, and then outputs your seed phrase. So seed phrases should be generated from an offline cold device that has no way to be exposed to the internet. That's my kind of that's my take. I believe that all Web3 software wallets, all your plugin extension, your MetaMask, your Rabby, or whatever it is that you're building, your Rainbow, whatever it is, all these things that are connected to the internet, there are security vulnerabilities that are possible, and I kind of believe that those are all just going to become a problem one day, and there's potential for threats and whatnot. And we've seen several people even just get hacked or get drained just by having hot wallets through whether it's social engineering or some sort of malware gets installed on their computer that can actually yank the private keys out and kind of be a problem. Or if you're trying to expose your seed phrase, there's ways to do that too. So yeah, basically don't, if you get hacked or phished, you can get drained pretty quickly. Okay, software wallet seed generation risks. So if you're exposed to an on-day, cause like I was just going through there, you're online, whether there's a 0-day exploit in the code or something like this, you're trusting the security of those plugins, what is their security models. Again, smartphone security risks, your smartphone could be, there's a variety of different things, even as simple as just oh, I just took a screenshot of it and it should be fine. Well, that's now on the Google, or whether that's on Google Cloud or Apple Cloud now, basically that seed phrase is burnt, is the way to think about that. Plus, just if there's other hacks or something on your smartphone, it is generally always connected to the internet. So you've always got that kind of risk there. The unknown entropy of the devices that are creating this, or of the software wallets, and there could just be spyware on your device, as we kind of talked about. So they could be, whether it's a keylogger or it's recording your screen or something. Yeah, you can get wrecked pretty quick. So again, not your keys, not your coins. I've also been telling people make sure that you get your assets off of a centralized exchange. If you keep it there, you're going to lose your funds. Thankfully, I have only been a part of 4 centralized exchanges that have rugged. So I've been pretty fortunate throughout all this. But yeah, no, I'm completely joking. I don't know if my sarcasm's coming through here. But yeah, I just don't want to see people have to go through this. It's a real pain in the butt, and this is where we have the ability to stay on chain and try and be as safe and secure as we can. So that's why I'm really trying to push this for people. Yeah, so all these other things are just exploits, and yeah, just think of a centralized exchange like a bank. The bank at some point may just say, no, you cannot access your funds, or your account is out of compliance, or we would no longer like to do business with you, and it just becomes a problem. So, yeah, just hold on to your question.
Technical issue also.
Yeah, it could be technical issues, or exploits, and all of a sudden, oh well, our security wasn't up to snuff. Where's your phone? Or get the mic. Give him a mic.
Oh, this is somewhat unrelated.
No, button.
This is somewhat unrelated, but the gentleman in the photo is he deriving a seed inside a Faraday tent?
Correct.
Do you recommend that?
It's just like I said here. Proper risk management can be a form of mental illness.
Okay.
So just
Kudos.
choose your.
That's hardcore.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll get into the dice rolling thing afterwards here too. But all right. Kind of as we've gone through here, here's just some comparisons. Now as we move into hardware wallets, we've talked a lot about software wallets and other things, but with software wallets, exposed to the internet, you can import previous generated seeds. Actually, that is one nice thing for a lot of people. Like, let's say you've just you reset your computer or something, or you reinstall stuff, and you're like, oh, I deleted MetaMask or whatever, and then when you reinstall, most of the time, if you're still using that same browser, it'll like repopulate everything, and you'll find all your accounts, which is kind of cool. Again, hardware wallets a little bit further, a little more steps to go through, but requires just like a simple click to sign transactions. So if you're looking to ape into things, like sometimes it's not always great to have a hardware wallet for that. But again, understand your risk with those things, because you're just going to keep a small amount on hot wallets. Obviously generally no two-step authentication. And then if you're stuck using that software wallet for dApps, you would need to import the seed into another wallet. Therefore, you might be exposing your seed or exposing your keys and whatnot. So that's kind of an issue there too. If you're using, let's say, I don't know. Let's say you're using MetaMask, but for example, you go to this other app that doesn't support it. You might have to actually port over your private keys to actually use it. So this is where if you have a hardware wallet and you're connecting it through your software wallet, you don't have to export your keys or deal with any of that stuff. So again, hardware wallets not exposed to the internet. You generate your keys offline. It allows you to import your seed if you have another one already, or if you've looking to rebuild your hardware wallet from seed, you can do that. There's a unique entropy that's designed with these. Obviously this two-step or kind of two-factor is how I like to introduce it to people that are not familiar with this. Some offer air-gapped solutions, which is pretty cool. Also a big fan of that. This gives you true custody of your assets, and particularly if you know how you're generating your seed, or you have that verified kind of trust. And most of the wallets nowadays have some sort of compatibility with at least one or more hardware wallets, so that you can go directly through these software apps that are just acting as an interface, is the way to think about it. You're not actually storing anything in those. They're just acting as the interface for you to engage with other dApps. So basically allows you to control your keys and have flexibility with those dApps. So if you, what happens if your hardware wallet gets wrecked, or you have a boating accident? I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story where there's people that they had a boating accident and lost their private keys, and that's the end of it. So this can actually help you in this case. So as long as you're not carrying this seed phrase with you during the boating accident, if you had this in a secure place. But basically, you can just take your seed phrase, like here in this example here. This one is built with a steel. This one's from Keystone, and it has like steel letters that are, they're not going to corrode. They're not damageable. They're like good for heat rating. So if it's in a house fire, all this stuff will be fine. there's where you'd have those words imprinted in this. So now if you lose your ledger or your Trezor or Keystone, whatever, or you smash it or somebody steals it on you, you can just recreate that whole, input this seed phrase and you've recreated your whole wallet again, right? Or if that device just stopped working for some reason. But please keep this safe. There's somebody gets this, it's lights out. So make sure you kind of have your security around this up to your standards. So the first one we're going to look at here is Trezor. Generally one of the wider known ones, but user-friendly interface. It has multi-currency support, so you've got support for a majority of the assets. It's open source software. This adds an extra layer of security and the transparency to the device. It's quite small in size, or about this big or so. So about a quarter the size of a smartphone, and includes advanced security features such as two-factor auth, password management, built-in hardware random generator to ensure that your private keys are truly random. Trezor's probably one of the ones that's trusted by the most, I would say a lot of the OGs in the space. I guess just they like what's happening here. Again, fully open source and whatnot. So this one's pretty trusted. Another one that I would say probably the most widely common would be a ledger. Obviously easy to use. They've got Ledger Live software. It's got an easy UI. I think they do have the largest market share, but I would think probably the biggest mind share. I would say a lot of people have heard of a ledger, or maybe even have one already. And it's pretty small in size. It's just like a larger USB stick. It's not a USB stick though. It's not like you stick it into the side. You do have to use a cable to connect it. Simple 2-button system, so you can't really mess things up too much. It is a little bit, doesn't require a bit of clicking, but actually during the onboarding part of it, it kind of teaches you how to get good with the clicks really, really fast. So it's a pretty intuitive design. And it is USB, and some of these will have Bluetooth as well. Not all the versions of Ledger does, but some of them do, and then that where it gives you the option to connect to a software or to your smartphone, should you choose to do that. Not sure about Bluetooth personally. I don't use it, but again, if you're comfortable with using Bluetooth to connect to something, that's up to you. But I don't know. That one seems a little bit sketchy to me. Keystone. This is it's completely air-gapped. That's a bit of, it can be completely air-gapped. QR codes to transmit the data. So basically, when you're making transactions, for example, from your software wallet, once you've completed your transaction, it'll pop up a QR code, which you then take your device and scan the QR code, and then that transaction information will come onto the screen, and you can see all of what's going on there. So that's where it's nice to have that full screen. It has human readable transactions, so you can actually read through, okay, this contract address is interacting with this address, this address interacting with this contract address, and so that's where it gives you this option to be like, hey, what is that address? And it also has ABI packages which you can plug into an SD card. So then you can say, it'll actually show afterwards, and I wish I had an example of this, but it'll show, if that router has been, whitelisted through their ABI packages, it'll actually show you the Uniswap router or the Sushi router or something like that. So you kind of have this extra layer of okay, well now at least I know that this is something that's a little more verified. And even ENS names. So if you're just sending ETH to a friend, it'll show up on their wallet as their ENS with their ENS with their .eth address. So that's pretty cool too, just to give you another, further details. Self-destruct tamper-proof mode. So if you try and open this thing up to hack inside, it wipes the device clean. With the new versions, the V3s, you can hold up to 3 seed phrases on it, which not a lot of other ones are letting you hold more than 1. So that's kind of handy if you're, because again, seed phrases you might be using, again, seed phrases, you can have 3 of them, and then you can have a whole bunch of other addresses below those, but maybe you've got one that's designed for, you know, you just want to keep things separate. Up to you on what that management's for, but this is pretty cool to have 3 seed phrases, in my opinion. USB data can be switched off. The new ones now have the ability to be plugged in via USB, so you can actually just connect with it and use it just like a ledger or a Trezor. Again, I really like this idea of being completely air-gapped. This goes back to like the old days of Bitcoiners, where they are taking USB sticks into offline cold storage devices. Like they're basically they're building a transaction on a hot machine that's connected to the internet. They build the transaction there. They take that transaction data, we then export it onto a USB stick. That comes out, goes over to a cold device that is completely offline, that is dumber than dumb. All it has is the private key, or has like the keys to that wallet on that device. You stick it in, you sign the transaction on that device, and then it would give you a transaction output of that data. So now you store that on the USB stick, you go back, you plug it back in, and then you broadcast that to the network with that signed transaction. So that's kind of like the old school way of doing it, which is extremely onerous and also does have security risks, in my opinion. But this way, you're basically just interacting with a cold offline device. And this is what really drew me to Keystone. This one's one of my favorites to use, is my daily driver. The old ones, you couldn't connect at all to USB, so it was completely air-gapped, which I liked, and it had removable batteries. This one has an internal battery, which a lot of people like because you can keep it charged. But again, if you choose to use the USB data, you can. I've got mine turned off. I want the whole air-gapped feature. However, you can use the USB data, or you can just have it plugged into a power source and just use power only, not like a data connection. And then that way, like, you're only getting power to that device. It can stay on all the time, rather than a removable battery that you have to recharge regularly. There are some advantages to that. For me, I like that quite a bit, but this has been a pretty great upgrade as well. A lot of people prefer having an internal battery. Yeah, what's also cool with this one is the dice roll entropy. So we saw the individual there with the tinfoil hat on and the dice in the cloaked area. Basically, we kind of went through that with the Ian Coleman website, where we're showing, okay, and I think if we go back, actually, let me just go back here. The interface is a little bit different. This is on a V2, but if you look at it, we've got, so there's a little matrix here, and each time you roll, you can press the number that you rolled. So you could roll whatever, a couple of dice or a handful of dice, and then pick, each one that got rolled, and then you would input, okay, 1, 6, 3, 2, so on and so forth. And then this way you're building this randomness that has come from you rolling dice and being, I don't think anybody else is going to be able to replicate that. Maybe somebody could do it, with less than 10 dice rolls. There's a very high chance that somebody could replicate that and actually over brute force it and figure out what your seed phrase is. However, they basically make you, I think they force you to do a minimum of 50, and they recommend that you do over 100. I recommend, yes, 100 plus, if not more. And if somebody is able to replicate that identically, it's just basically impossible. When we get into seed phrases and stuff, into private keys and how many private keys are in existence, it is like there's more there's more potential private keys than there are atoms in the universe, is the way to think about this. So to think like, oh, I can just maybe I can try my hand at getting some random seed phrases, you have a better shot at winning the lottery just at the corner store. So, that's one of and it just has a really nice interface with it for using that. So if you're really trying to be super secure with how your seed phrase gets generated, and you want to have your own entropy, and this is something I do, is using dice to actually generate it. So again, pretty cool that you have this full screen to do this whole dice roll entropy thing. And then, biometric fingerprint signing. So basically, you can set it up to have it as like a password to unlock your device. And then if you once the device is open and you're trying to, when you're aping, your magical beans, you want to just be able to do it quick. You just put your fingerprint up against, just like with, a lot of the smartphone devices right now. And it'll just sign, and that acts as your, instead of a password, you just use a finger to sign that. So yeah, basically, as we talked about, the QR code will pop up on your software wallet because you're connecting through your software wallet. You scan this, you read the transaction, you like what it does, you hit sign, either enter your password, use your fingerprint, whichever you have set, and then a QR code pops up on the device, and then you open up your web camera, and and then it reads the QR code, and that is the signed transaction data. And then that's what goes back, and that's what actually completes your transaction, as compared to other devices where you're entering some clicks, and then you enter your password and on your ledger or your Trezor, or click through things and then hit enter, and that's what's sending the signed transaction. This is all done by passing QR codes. So again, really big fan of this. So connecting to dApps with a hardware wallet. You'll see connecting to. Up in the top right corner, you'd always see like Connect Wallet. I think we're all pretty familiar with that at this point. So Wallet Connect will generally offer you further connections, and then this will connect directly to your hardware or your hardware wallet software, which is cool too. And then allows you to perform all these transactions on the web, and then pushes you to do it with your hardware wallet. And that way your keys are always remaining on your hardware wallet and are not exposed to the world in your software wallet, which we've kind of gone through in the past there, or gone through before. So yeah, that's why when people it's very easy for people to get confused about software wallets and how that works with a hardware wallet. But the way to think about it is just the software wallet is just the interface to interact and engage with your hardware wallet. Okay, so here now we get into this. So many apps have connections like Rabby, MetaMask, Rainbow, Coinbase, etc. And if we look here, there's a couple examples where we've got, for example, in Rabby, in this example here, you go into your settings and click on Connect Hardware Wallet, and you can see we've got Ledger, Trezor, Grid Plus, OneKey, Keystone, Bitbox, like a whole bunch of different things, and there's always going to be more. Also, if anybody is not using Rabby and is interacting with EVM chains all the time, highly advise making the switch from MetaMask to Rabby. It's a way better wallet, and I like it. I was with MetaMask for quite a while because they were the only ones supporting Keystone. Rabby started supporting it, and I went over there and was just like, oh wow, this is what a wallet should be. Instead of having to switch networks, switch RPCs, having to look for where your assets are and have to import assets, it really does a great job of managing all that for you and kind of giving it all in one major shot. But again, MetaMask, the same thing. They'll allow you to connect to a few different hardware wallets there. The only thing is with MetaMask, you have to watch because it forces you to set up a software wallet first. And it's going to prompt you to put in a seed phrase to create a new seed phrase or to import. And that is by no means a place for you to enter your hardware wallet seed phrase. That will never get input anywhere on the internet. That is only to be done on your physical device. And that's just another, I probably maybe mention this later, but while we're on that topic, do not enter that online anywhere. The seed phrase that was generated from your hardware wallet, that only ever goes into your hardware wallet or a new one that you've created. That's the only place for that. If you put that online, she gone. So, anyways, back to the wallets here. Again, I've reiterated this several times now, just as these act as an interface. And allow you to interact, seamlessly with these dApps. Do not enter your keys ever created from the hardware wallet. So with MetaMask, you will have to create your first wallet. So generally, there's going to show you account 1, and that's going to have an address. That's just basically a hot wallet that you're forced to make. And then after that, you can build, or once you would connect your hardware wallet, and then that'll allow you to import the addresses of those wallets that you want to use. Yeah, so then again, just with that first wallet there, don't hold any assets on it, and then find the connection to the software wallets. So just kind of a quick recap here, software wallet versus hardware wallet. Obviously a lot of pros with software wallet for like speed and convenience. You know, here we've got compatibility, mobile friendly, oftentimes convenient. You can ape really quick. Again, those are all exposed keys that have, you know, the potential for threat. There's no two-step security with those. You know, you're trusting the entropy that they provide and are hackable and phishable. I know many people that have been drained from hacks and phishes. Doesn't take much. You click on the wrong links. You click on the wrong, you know, oh, there's a hot new airdrop out that you saw on Twitter, and you're clicking the link and you just ape into it. You're going to get wrecked. So pros of the hardware wallet, obviously the keys are generated offline. We have two-step security with that. It's isolated entropy and it's not hackable. Again, somebody really needs that physical device. There is some, I've heard of some companies now that are actually able to crack certain hardware wallets if they have the physical device. That is a bit concerning to me, but again, just make sure nobody gets your physical device. And again, I think they've got some process obviously set up so that they, you know, you can confirm that it's actually yours, but the fact that they can do that is a bit alarming to me. So yeah, just really keep track of your stuff. Yeah, again, they are a little bit inconvenient if you're trying to use them on the go, or you always have to like pull out your hardware wallet in order to even just to sign into an account sometimes. Like you'll get logged out of OpenSea and now it's like, oh, I just want to see what's in there. I don't want to have to like log in all the time. So you'll have to, you know, even just for signatures, you'll have to use it. So yeah, it does create that extra step for transactions. There's not as many native solutions, obviously, depending on what your hardware wallet choice is. And you definitely can't ape as fast. So if you're trying to like ape into the hot new shitcoin on Solana, you're going to have, you might be a little too late. The price may have moved in one way or the other before you know, are able to get it. So you got to be quick. Yeah, again, so just want to really reiterate this. Can't say this enough. I've seen this plenty of times with so many different communities I've been involved in where people are just, you know, they get reached out, they had some reach out from support or admin or the, you know, whoever it was. And yeah, they start giving up seed phrases because it's going to solve their, you know, well, I've got an issue with your app. And it's just some scammer that's, you know, getting that. So never, ever, ever, there is no need for you to ever put in a seed phrase into, you know, to give that to anybody or, you know, even put that online anywhere. So do not do that. Yeah, and also just really be careful with scammers and whatnot. Basically, anybody that DMs you, including myself, if I DM you, you should be really weary. Just be like, hey, what's going on? Is this actually a scammer? That should always be in the back of your mind. You should always be thinking that somebody is out here to get it. Every time you see a link, really be careful about what you're clicking. Double check stuff because it doesn't take much, and you'll get drained.
Also, Twitter isn't safe.
Right.
Like Trezor was hacked the other day.
Oh, what all happened there?
Trezor main account on Twitter was hacked.
Oh, yeah.
So always,
Right.
like I used to verify stuff on Twitter, but now you have to like double check.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, yeah, that's a very good point Julian brings up is like you've got you sometimes you just like go to Twitter to make sure that you're clicking on the right link and then double checking that, hey, this is taking me to the right you know, the right website and whatnot. But yeah, it's all it takes is like for a Twitter site to, or you know, their Twitter account to get compromised, and all of a sudden it's redirecting people to, you know, some airdrop scam link or just some other place that looks like the website that it used to. You start clicking on things, and it's a wallet drainer. Some other things that I highly advise that everybody uses is, again, why I was talking about Rabby in the first place. It's just a great user experience. Plus, it also gives you it'll show you like what the output of your transaction will be. So if you're oftentimes you're going to click on these links and it's going to show you that they're able to like drain all of your wrapped assets, or to be able to drain all of the assets that this contract is designed for. So Rabby will show you that kind of stuff, and it may say, hey, hold up a second, are you sure you want to do this? Plus I also use a couple other plugins as well, one called Wallet Guard and another one called Pocket Universe. There's another one, Web3 Antivirus. It takes a little bit longer to load, so I'm finding just having 3 of those in place, plus then you got Rabby, plus you have your hardware wallet. It's a pretty thorough process. May not be for everyone, but I really want to be safe and secure, because like I say, if you don't have any of this protection, you could be clicking on a link and get drained. So yeah, so those are 2 other things. I didn't have them listed in here, but now that I should have done that. Yeah, make sure that if you aren't using those already, walletguard.com, and actually let me just look this up right now while we were here. Walletguard.app. So this one, I highly advise adding this to your browser. It's straightforward. It's very easy. But you can see here, just even in this example that they provide, like this person's about to do a transaction and it's going to drain, their NFTs just by interacting with it. At least it shows you this and says like, hey, this is a super dangerous action. If you do this, like you're going to get wrecked. So this front runs your software wallet injection, or your software wallet injection that's coming into your browser. So this pops up first, shows you what the transaction is going to be, and then opens up your software wallet once you approve this. So yeah, I highly advise having this just because it gives you more human readable stuff. Again, this could be subject to hacks or to exploits, so that's why I like running multiple, and also having it so it goes all the way from, so if you're using Wallet Guard, then I use Pocket Universe, then using Rabby to show you the other. So as long as all of these things look consistent, like, hey, this is all giving me what the expected outcome is, plus it goes to your hardware wallet. And remember, your hardware wallet is also the dumb device that is offline. If it's also showing you that output, like, then you know, okay, this is a safe thing to deal with if everything looks consistent. Or, if you go really far with it, you can, if you're like starting to memorize or have like a list of contract routers that you engage with that are, like the Uniswap, ETH, USDC pool, and you'll know what that V2 contract looks like. And then when you see that pop up, you're like, yes, this is the contract router that I'm looking to interact with. Again, that's getting pretty far down the rabbit hole, but just depends on your security. So basically, these are a crucial piece of security in your Web3 journey. I like to say this is the beginning of it, because you want to be able to generate your seed phrase so that you can actually get those addresses that you can start interacting with your crypto. The other thing to keep in mind is as you start moving, or like if you're thinking about, oh, I'll move my hardware or I'll move my assets. Oh, we got oopsies. Sorry about that. You're thinking, oh, I'll just move my ETH address or my ETH assets over to my hardware wallet later. Then when gas prices go up, it's going to get expensive. Sure, it's better on like L2s and whatnot, but if you're trying to do a wallet migration later on when you're paying $50 to move assets, that's really unfortunate and really sucks. So that's why I'm really driving people to say, get there now. Don't start when, oh, I've got, whatever your number is, whether it's 500, 1,000, 10,000, whatever, dollars worth of assets. Get there right from the beginning, because then you don't have to worry about, now I got to be safe at some point. It's just you are safe to start, and you don't have to worry about moving those assets either. Because wallet management, it only gets crazier the deeper you get into this. So this is why I'm trying to get you ahead of all this. But just learn which hardware wallet works for you. I've kind of gone through a few of them. Which features you like, and just, start being safe. Make sure that you get off of centralized exchanges. Those can be your on-ramp and off-ramp if you so choose, but just get off and don't become another statistic like Tangle. yeah, move your assets from software wallets, get it off, make it over to the hardware wallets. Yeah, and just really be safe out there. Scammers are out there to get you all the time. Yeah, always double check. Like if there's something that's asking you to do some sort of action with your wallet, even if it's your friend or whatever, this Twitter account or whatever, these things get hacked and exploited all the time, and people are trying to rug you left, right, and center. So always double check whenever there's anything, and be always on high alert. If I DM you asking, hey, can you just like sign, do this, or I get you to check this link out, or double check, make sure, hey, this isn't right, or don't do that. If you're going to click on it, don't do it from a device that you're connected with, and don't sign shit that's from your wallet. So yeah, basically just there it is with Mr. Bernie in the back here. Just make sure you take proper custody of your assets and become self-sovereign. So yeah, there you go, everybody. Thank you. Any questions? Was there anything from online? I wasn't really watching. Okay. Yeah, any... oh, wait. Nothing. Yes? Take the mic.
So you talked about Solana. How do you compare the Keystone and the new Solana phone?
Oh, yeah, so Solana phone's quite interesting just because of how it has like the secure element inside of it, which that's where the seed is generated from. So it's a totally different kind of way of thinking about it, because like the two pieces are together, however they are isolated from one another. During the demonstration that was done a little over a year ago or something, when we actually saw Stephen do the presentation here, the Saga has its own separate, like the secure element has its own like GPU basically, or its own like processor. So when you actually are using a DApp and then you interact with the secure element, it turns off all the other all the other parts of your phone, and then it just like pops up inside the secure element, pops up, and I guess it has its own processor to show you the screen. So like that is not connected to anything else, and it is like a one-way. It's like you sign your transaction like generally with your fingerprint. That happens within the secure element system, and then outputs the transaction output afterwards. So like that isn't exposed to anything else. So it is while it's on the same device, it is completely separate from everything else. So that's a pretty cool feature. Again, it's not air gapped, and I don't know how, if that could be extracted out of there. But it's a really cool way to do things for convenience, and to keep, your, to be able to use a smartphone and still have like hardware wallet protection, it's not really hardware wallet protection, but to have like an extra layer of protection. So yeah, it's a cool system, and I hope that they can start doing this with like other other smartphones, if they can somehow do stuff with like these enclaves or something. I don't know, I'm not super techie, but being able to have their own secure elements that could be built just for just to hold private keys or something. So yeah, Keystone, for example, is completely separate. It's its own, your own device. It's completely air gapped. It's not connected to any, or it can be not connected to anything that's online or anything. And that's kind of what I like about it. I like that it is the dumbest device. It can be the dumbest device ever, so that's why I'm a big fan of it. Anything else?
So aren't ledgers, like hardware wallets, are also air gapped?
No, Ledger you're connecting with a USB, so you're plugged right into your computer.
In Keystone you pass it with the QR code you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, so it can stay completely, it never has to be connected or plugged into a device in order to operate. So yeah, again, the way that the transferring of the data happens through the USB on the Ledger is allegedly safe. But again, I'm seeing like USB cables that can, transmit. I don't know, there's some like really sketchy stuff out there where people can put these they can transmit data through these USBs, like to like a Wi-Fi network and stuff. So you also want to make sure that you're using your own cables and whatnot too. But it's just those extra things. Whereas like passing it through a camera and like again, even if you were to get like, if your software wallet was to somehow be compromised and it gives you a QR code that is wrong, when you scan it with that device that's completely offline and you're like, hey, wait a second, this doesn't look right. Why am I sending, all of my ETH to this address? That's not what I'm looking to do. Like, at least with the Keystone, you get that human readable part of it where you can see, hey, this is what's happening. And it's not being compromised from somewhere else, where if it's plugged in, potentially that could be sending that same data over to your device and compromising your device. Again, this is all very edge case stuff, but that's just...
And another question was, how do you prevent deadman switch problem?
How do you, sorry?
A deadman switch problem?
Oh yeah, that's a whole other talk as well. Or like what happens if you pass, or if there's, to have that. That's... I don't know. That one I just I don't have any great suggestions for people. I don't recommend doing things too complex, because like most people right now wouldn't, even if you like told them to like, hey, this is where my seed phrase is and this is how to, a lot of people like normies, they would just be like, I don't know what to do with this. And then they're gonna have to ask somebody, and there's also potential risks there. So I've heard everything from like dividing your seed phrase in a few different ways, giving it to certain people. Maybe some people will keep some of it online, keep like, a third of it, or a quarter or half online somewhere that's accessible, and then the other part somewhere else. Some sort of sharding. There's like Shamir Secret that you can do as well, which shards your actual seed phrase. So you need you need multiple pieces of that shard to rebuild your seed phrase, so then you could like give it out to certain people. There's a whole wild kind of, a lot of different ways to handle it, and that one, like, I don't really have, I don't want to like suggest that. I think that would be a good thing to just like have a fishbowl talk on, like, what do you think is a good idea, and let's talk some ideas through. But yeah.
And then last question is like, how do you like migrate all your like funds or everything from software wallet to hardware, like your new cold wallet, like? Yeah.
You're basically sending them over the network. You got to send from everything. So all of these assets that you've accumulated, and and it sucks when it's on mainnet, because I've done wallet migrations on mainnet. Just moving from hardware wallet, like to a new hardware wallet. Like moving from Ledger to Keystone. I was like, well, I'm going to generate my new seed and do all this properly, and then I'm going over there now. It sucks, because you got to go through, find all of your assets, find all of your LP positions. You got to, approve sending from all of your NFTs and this and that. Like it gets onerous, and that's why I'm really saying to people, like, you start with a hardware wallet so that you have that protection right out of the gate. So you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm running around with $10,000 on my smartphone that I have my password set as 1111. It doesn't take much. So that's, again, just having that having that ready to go. But otherwise, it's going to get expensive. So,
Thanks.
Anything else?
It's a little bit off topic, but I'm wondering, I have a question about the future.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned about the fact that Quantum could crack public keys and derive private
So I
keys?
think once we get closer to that point, like when we start seeing the acceleration of quantum computing, we'll come up with solutions to deal with that beforehand. And whether that's a whole new set of seed phrases, or maybe like the other part too, like maybe having multi-sigs makes it more complex as well, because like which would be extremely inconvenient, but like it's great if somebody can have one set of private keys if they can crack that. But in order to interact, for example, with a multi-sig, you would need to have more than one private key. So now, like, that just gets exponentially harder for someone to crack. So that's just like my first initial like thought about it. You know, when you start building a multi-sig, I think. But again, when we get closer to that stage where it's like, hey, we are like within the next 10 or 15 years of like quantum computing going to be able to wreck all of our private keys, we'll have a totally new system that's going to be built out that we'll just have to migrate to. So we'll have to do another migration at that stage. But yeah, I don't think we're there just yet. So.
And as of today, do you know any algorithms that are quantum resistant today?
I don't know enough about that personally. I thought there was some stuff that is post quantum ready, but I don't know. I can't say off the top of my head unless anybody else knows or familiar. Go ahead.
Yes. Usually when people talk about this, they're talking about a specific algorithm called Shor's algorithm, which, as I understand it, is able to break the elliptic curve cryptography. It's not like, it still has to search in some, large number space.
Yeah.
So it's like, being able to derive the private key from a public key. Now, there are algorithms, elliptic curves and other things like this that are resistant to that, and you can just slot that into the protocol. You can just hard fork and say, all right, well, henceforth all of the accounts are use this elliptic curve to sign valid transactions. But yeah, in the future there could be better algorithms that use the parallelization of quantum computers that we don't know about yet, and that we would have to like come up with a countermeasure for that. But I don't really see that as a major issue. Again, like Tangle said, we can just upgrade. But yeah, it is one specific algorithm that I'm aware of that, everything else is theoretical, but like Shor's algorithm, yeah, it would work. You just need lots and lots of qubits. And I don't think, anyone has that at the moment. Yeah, well, not if the NSA created Bitcoin to begin with. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Anyhow.
That, yeah.
Okay.
It's nice marketing though, to be like, oh yeah, we're post quantum. Before we even get there, we're post everything.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Sweet. All righty. Well, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. Yeah, if you don't mind. If any of you haven't already, there is that POAP back there, just along the wall by the Doodles rug with the little black poster. Tap your phone on the area that says tap here to get POAP, and then, mint your POAP for the event tonight. So if you don't mind, just fold up your chairs, and if you can put the mics just up here, that'll be great. Thanks, everybody. Just,